Welcome to Cyberbytes, the podcast BlackHat edition. I'm Oliver Legg, co-founder of Asperon Search, and it's a pleasure to welcome Halyna Vasylevska, who is both a friend and the sector lead for cybersecurity portfolio development at Munich Re Ventures. She has a huge impact on the growth of their security companies and the CISO community as a whole. Enjoy the show. Well, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome Halyna, the head of portfolio development at Munich Re Ventures, to Cyberbytes, the podcast. How's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. We had a full schedule and you bamboozled me to get some space. And look, we're here live in BlackHat 2025. So I'm glad we could make it happen.
This is what happens when you work with someone really closely.
How is BlackHat so far?
It's my favorite conference. It's probably one of these industry conferences where you have the highest concentration of practitioners, companies, investors, and pretty much everyone in one room. So I always love to have meetings scheduled, but also some room to run into people, and it never fails to deliver.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because we've had plenty of VCs on the show before, but it's always been the investors or the actual founders of the funds themselves. And I don't think we've actually had anyone on from platform creation, portfolio development, whatever the VC chooses to call it. So really eager to understand, first of all, what does MRV do, Munich Re Ventures do? And then what do you define as portfolio development?
Sure, and it's a very good question to start with. Munich Re is the world's biggest reinsurance company. We're our venture capital arm based in San Francisco. We have 1.2 billion in assets under management across 5 funds, and we heavily verticalized in our investment thesis. I run our cybersecurity portfolio development, but we also invest across built world, resilient future, health tech, and a bunch of other sectors. And because the sectors are so heavily verticalized, our portfolio development team is also heavily verticalized, meaning we are focused on how we can best enable success of our portfolio company and our corporate parent. In the world of cybersecurity, it means everything from go-to-market, CISO network, partnership with Munich Re, channel partnerships, and understanding how can we best support portfolio companies from a get-go to exit.
Yeah, awesome. And you've had some really interesting cybersecurity companies as well, and one that we've co-invested alongside, still in stealth, so we obviously can't talk about them. But when do you get involved? Because when we've worked with each other, you get involved from initial introduction, but eager to understand when you aim to get involved with the founder and the vendor.
Because we're a thesis-driven investor, the way we approach our investments is we try to meet companies very early on and we try to understand what's on top of their agenda. Very often we provide value even before investment if we think that company is of interest for us. But truly, I step in once we invested in a company or we are about to close a round. And we try to understand what are the core priorities. Often it's talent and understanding how to find the best people. More often than not, cyber founders are coming from technical background, meaning they need help with go-to-market talent, product, and just broader expansion. Majority of it is expansion domestically in the US. The other thing companies need is understanding which verticals to tackle, where they need to find design partners, where they need to find support, where they need to find MSSP connection, or where they just need a thought partner and test the hypothesis. Because more often than not, companies look at, okay, do we need to go to certain vertical, like financial services or healthcare, or should we focus on shorter, smaller contract in a hope that enterprise sales cycle is going to be longer? And big part of what we do, we try to sit down and understand what is the core priority right now. And once we understand what is the core priority, we build what's called mission. And mission for us is when we dedicate our best efforts, and my team is a broader team, so I'm running the sector of cybersecurity, but we also have VP of talent. I have a couple of more people on my team. And we also bring, as an investor, more than 30 people that are deeply connected across financial services and world of insurance, which is another sector we can help portfolio companies in. But more broadly, we sit down and we try to understand what are your priorities. You want design partners. You want to understand the demand for your solution in a vertical. You want robust portfolio of your design partners, meaning you want someone who is financial services, someone who is smaller, someone who is a bigger logo, and someone who will be super engaged with what you do. And we try to go through our network, and we also go through broader expansion for us to build those type of relationship or portfolio company to enable their success. Often, we also test hypotheses, meaning would certain channel work? Is there any other way for portfolio company to succeed? Is there any other way portfolio company can join efforts with other vendor to go together? Because our portfolio is pretty robust, we also facilitate inter-portfolio introductions as well. So almost like in superheroes movies, there's mission. Once we understand that portfolio after we invested. Occasionally we get back to these missions after we invested as well. Meaning the company been in a portfolio for a while, but now they raised another round of financing, or they're becoming more heavy in channel, and we help with channel partnerships as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And the other piece that you have personally worked very heavily on is the Munich Re Ventures CISO community. And I mean, there's a lot of different venture-run CISO communities. Eager to understand. I mean, you made an interesting point before we started recording about actually getting the CISOs to understand the value to them and the value to the companies that they protect about engaging with VCs. So let's talk about that.
Function of CISO is probably one of the hardest seat in executive suite. It's very fast evolving because threats are evolving very quickly. And it's also a challenging one to communicate when it comes to board communication. Meaning very often we meet CISOs and they're like, I know about world of cyber vendors, I know about world of venture capital. How can we start? How can we engage? And we very often sit down and try to educate them on what cyber investments are all about, how venture capital works in this space, why certain vendors raise certain amount of money, and why certain areas are more favorable to VCs than others. Once we sit down with them, it becomes an educational conversation. Very often we help them get board seats. Very often we help them to get into their next role. Some of them are interested in angel investing. Some of them are interested in advisory. Big part of also what we do, we also try to help them understand what's in it for them as executives. How to better frame their role, how to navigate their board communication. Educating them on all of these topics becomes instrumental, and we try to be relationship forward. Because in a world where CISO function is being very heavily interesting for so many vendors and so many VCs, we try to be different in a way that we try to put CISO and their interest first and come with resources we have. So we work closely with executive search firms, for example. We work closely with a bunch of other organizations, try to help CISOs with their personal and career development. And after this, help to understand how we can, with our network, inside of our portfolio, but very often outside of our portfolio, help them succeed as well.
And how did you actually go about building the community? So from scratch, what were the actual logistics of creating that?
We try to understand, first of all, it's not an easy task. And keeping it as a community requires an engagement. Meaning it's not that you just know people and you can occasionally drop them an email. It means that we're actively and proactively very often engage with them and try to understand. We started from whom do we know? Whom do we know in our immediate network? Whom do we know from our portfolio companies, and whom do we can bring to our portfolio companies? From there, we started sitting down and understand what's on top of your priorities. And understanding what's on top of your priorities was probably the best way for us to expand. Coming from Munich Re's background, we're heavy in financial services and insurance, meaning we are very uniquely positioned to bring value to financial services and insurance industry more broadly, which is where majority of our CISO network is located. But we also, because we're based in San Francisco, there are some tech CISOs. We have a good number of manufacturing and healthcare, so pretty much across vertical, which gives a good diversity. Very often it's peer community. Some of them are like, do you know someone I can talk to in financial services, for example, that can be a good resource or mentor for me? It works well as well. Do you know someone who is good recruiter who's focused specifically on board positions? We know a couple of those too. Do you know someone who can help me become from VP of engineering to CISO? With many of those CISOs, they traveled with us across the organization because we helped them to navigate these career changes as well. And by doing so, you're getting unique insight, and you also get unique insight into decision making, which is instrumental when you make an investment decision, because you understand how CISOs think and how they evaluate certain products, areas, board communication, budget, especially when it comes to emerging categories. It's very, very important to understand how CISOs are thinking and how budgets are being formed, because it's impacting how people are investing in things.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't remember the exact title, but you held a recent event where the topic was essentially around mitigating the personal risk and personal
Exactly.
liability to CISOs doing or trying to do their job. And I think it's adding that kind of value as well about things that they must be terrified of in their personal life as well.
And have very few people to talk about. So as a recent event and a big topic we're working on right now is executive liability for security professionals, because very few CISOs now that are actually, in many cases, are not covered under D&O insurance policy, meaning they have very little protection in place in case something goes wrong. On one end. The other end, we try to bring practitioners. So in the case of this event, we had CISO of Anthropic and Chief Consumer Trust Officer from Salesforce. So very different organization. One is extremely dynamic and fast growing, and other one big public company shares their perspective and best tips and practices. So back to community component. We try to facilitate community component in peer-to-peer learning rather than vendor-driven conversation that are aimed to educate on a certain topic rather than a topic that is relevant for CISOs. So by doing so, we provide resources they're interested in, which builds trust. And trust is fundamental when it comes to understanding both areas of priority, CISO's engagement, and also how can we make the best investments in the areas of interest for them.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Halyna. And
Sure.
I think it's, your security portfolio is going from strength to strength at the moment. And looking forward to seeing which ones are kind of cropping up and coming out of stealth as well.
We'll see how it plays out, but I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your BlackHat and
Thank you so
have
much.
a good one.